welcome back to my channel. It's Amber Shanice here, and I am so excited to be sewing up another Silversaga pattern today. I will be sewing up her Celine blouse, and my plan is to sew up view E of her pattern, which is this one over here. She has 6 different views for this top. I love that she includes a bunch of different variations within her patterns because it gives you the options of changing things up in any way that you feel like you want to. I already have ideas for other patterns that I would like to make off of this Celine blouse, hopefully coming soon to the channel. So this top really intrigued me and has been on my radar to sew up for quite a while now, and so I can't wait to jump into this today. I love the detail of the ruffled neckline and the ruffled bottom for view E. I think the sleeves are so adorable, and I've really been getting into that kind of style lately. I love the flowiness of the top. It seems like it's a really breezy and comfy top. This is not my first rodeo with Silversaga patterns. It's my second time sewing one of her patterns, and she is a beautiful pattern designer. I'm really looking forward to what I'm going to learn when sewing this top up. And if you would like to see the previous pattern that I sewed up, I will link it down below in the description. It was this stunning Ella dress, and I actually just wore it for my maternity shoot. The pictures are coming out so beautifully. So if you're interested in watching me sew up this blouse or would like to sew it up for yourself as well, I am going to go ahead and get started, so please keep on watching. So I have already gone in and cut out all of my pattern pieces for this blouse, and I am going to just jump right into sewing. The fabric that I'm using for this blouse is this really beautiful flowy rayon flax blend, and it's in this ivory creamish color. I thought it was the perfect fabric choice for this blouse because I feel like it'll lay so beautifully. So because I'm using this type of fabric and it's not structured, I'm going to need to add all of the stay stitches necessary. So there are notches that we needed to mark on all of our pattern pieces, and I am going to be sewing in the stay stitches on all of those notches. So for my sleeves, she has markings that you need to sew right along these 2 notches here on both sides for both sleeves. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I also will be stay stitching the armholes and the neckline of both the front bodice and the back bodice, from shoulder to armpit and from shoulder to shoulder on both pieces. So I just completed stay stitching all of the necessary pieces, and I just wanted to reiterate, when stay stitching, what I always make sure I do, that way nothing ends up wonky and everything stays even. I always start from the shoulder. So I start from the shoulder, go down to the armhole. I start from the shoulder on the neckline, and I sew to the center, cut my threads, and then hop over to the other side and sew from the shoulder to the center, cut my threads, and then shoulder to armhole. That way everything is sewn up as evenly as possible. And once I am done with that, the next step in her instructions is to add all of the necessary gathering stitches. So I'm going to be adding gathering stitches along the neckline of the back bodice between the necessary notches. So I'm going to do 2 rows of gathering stitches here. And then on the front bodice, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing between the necessary notches and adding 2 rows of gathering stitches between here, and finishing off with my sleeves and adding gathering stitches between the necessary notches here and here. So 2 rows of gathering stitches. So I'm going to go through and do all of that now, and I'm switching my stitch length to the longest stitch length on my machine to do those gathering stitches. So a feature of this blouse is that it's finished almost entirely with French seams, and I decided not to finish mine out with French seams. I'm just going to do regular seams and overlock my edges and make sure that I press them, because I'm perfectly fine with regular seams on the inside for this blouse. So that's what I'm going to do now. now that that's all pinned together, I'm going to sew right along these shoulder seams and the side seams, and I'm going to serge those edges as well after I'm done sewing. So I have sewn and serged all of those seams, and I'm now going to take my blouse to my ironing board, and I'm going to press all of these seams going towards the back. I have set my top aside and I'm going to start working on the sleeves right now. What I'm going to be doing is taking my sleeves over to my ironing board. I'm going to hem my sleeve ruffle. So I'm going to hem this bottom edge that is opposite to the center notch. I'm going to press it up on the bottom edge by 5 millimeters, and then I will be taking that pressed edge and folding it again at a 1/4 of an inch and then sewing that down. Okay, so now that the sleeve ruffles are hemmed and finished, I'm going to be attaching those sleeve ruffles to my actual sleeves and making sure that I do it right sides facing. And I'm going to pin along this entire edge. Going to go ahead and just stitch right along this outer edge and serge after I'm done. Okay, so I've just completed sewing and serging this edge here on both sleeves. And now I'm going to take this seam allowance and press it going towards the cap of the sleeve. That is all pressed going up towards the cap of the sleeve. I'm going to edge stitch right along that serged edge of the allowance, and that's going to create the channel for the elastic that I need to thread through. Now that that is all sewn up, I'm going to be taking my elastic and putting the safety pin through and threading that through the channel that I just created, making sure that I pin it in place on either side so it doesn't come undone. After taking my elastic and threading it through that channel, I made sure that it's nice and even, and I'm now going to take my sleeve and fold it against each other, right sides together. And I'm going to pin and sew right along this edge here. I am now going to take my prepped sleeve and sew right along this edge here. And then after sewing along this edge, I'm going to overlock it as well and press that seam going towards the back. My sleeves are now done, and now I'm going to begin gathering my sleeves up between these notches here. Now that my sleeves are all gathered up, I'm going to be inserting my sleeves into the armholes of my bodice. And right sides together, I'm going to take my seams and line them up, and I'm starting at the armpit. I have got my sleeves all pinned in place on both sides, and now I'm going to sew and serge around both of those armholes. So my sleeves are all done and they look so beautiful. I love the way that these sleeves are looking. I'm just gonna keep on going and I can't wait to see how this turns out. I now get to start on the ruffles for the bottom of the blouse and the neckline. So I'm gonna first start with the bottom of the blouse. And I am going to be taking my pieces for the front bodice ruffle and the back bodice ruffle. And this is 4 pieces in total. And I'm gonna stitch these together into a circle. So right sides together, I'm just gonna take my front bodice ruffle pieces and I'm gonna stitch right along this edge here, and I'm gonna take my back bodice ruffle pieces and do the exact same thing. And after that's all stitched together, I'm gonna stitch these pieces to one another. Okay, so I've sewn that all together in a circle, just like so. And now I am going to go ahead and serge all of my seams that I just created. And then I'm gonna press my seams and I'm going to finish the edges of my ruffle piece the exact same way that I finished the edges on my sleeves. So folding that edge over twice and then sewing that down. So that's the method that I'm about to do right now for the bottom ruffle of my blouse. So I have just completed that ruffle, getting it all nice and ready to attach to my top. I did add my gathering stitches to the top of this ruffle section already so that it's all prepped, and now all I have to do is attach it to my top. So I'm gonna find the back and I'm just gonna start by getting this all gathered together. So I'm gonna take the seam to the back of the top and I'm going to clip and pin everywhere that is necessary. So the center front, the center back, and the side seams is where I will be pinning this ruffle to my top. And so now that I'm pinned at the front center, back center, and the side seams, I could start gathering my threads to meet the circumference of my top. So now I'm going to sew all the way around the bottom of my top and serge that seam as well. My ruffle is now attached, sewn and serged this entire edge, and I'm now going to top stitch right along this edge just to secure things in place so that this doesn't flap around. Now that the bottom of my blouse is complete, I am going to be repeating those steps for the top of my blouse, but this time I have 2 pieces for the front neckline and 1 piece for the back neckline ruffle. This time I'm going to be taking my back neckline ruffle and taking my front neckline ruffle pieces, and I'm going to attach them to either end of the back neckline ruffle. So I'm gonna just do that now and repeat all of the rest of the steps the exact same way that I just completed the ruffle for the bottom of the top as well as the ruffle for the sleeves. And I am being sure to not sew together both of the front pieces of the neckline ruffle. I have just finished sewing up that neckline ruffle and I sewed it up just like I did for everything else. And I finished the inside edge, which will be the front bodice opening. I finished it the exact same way that I did the bottom, and I've already added my gathering stitches to the top as well. So I'm gonna set this aside. I'm now gonna take my front and back of the bodice and start to gather the center of the front and the center of the back to the correct measurements. And I'm gonna try on my blouse to make sure it's cinched the way that I would like it before attaching my ruffle. just finished gathering my blouse at the front and the back, and I also tried it on to see if I liked the fit. And I did like the fit, so I went ahead and just evened everything out, made sure all of my gathers are looking good and spread out, and I secured them at the ends with some pins. And now the same way that I attached the ruffle to the bottom of my blouse is what I'm going to do to attach the ruffle to the front of my blouse as well. Now that my ruffled neckline is all pinned into place, I'm going to sew this down to secure everything before adding the neckline binding. Now that my ruffle neckline is sewn to the top of my blouse, I am going to be pressing my facing that goes around the neckline as well as the front ties. I've just finished clipping the facing onto the neckline, and I'm going to go ahead now and sew this down. Now that that is sewn on, I am at the back of my bodice, and I am going to be attaching these back tails together, and I'm going to have them meet to the same length as the rest of this opening here. I'm pinning that in place. I'm going to sew right along where I've pinned. So that is sewn down now all the way around. Right, so now I'm going to just top stitch right along this edge of the facing that I just added. Okay, so now that that is sewn down and top stitched, I am going to just cut down some of this extra here so I can fold my facing over and stitch it down flat. So I'm gonna do that now. And just like that, after you have finished attaching your ties and pressing down that ruffled neckline, your Celine blouse is all done, and here are the final results. Thank you all so much for watching, and I truly hope that you enjoyed watching the process of me making this beautiful blouse by Silversaga Patterns. I highly recommend the Celine blouse. I think it's such a gorgeous and elegant blouse that really can be styled however you'd like. You could wear it casual, you could dress it up. It's truly such a versatile piece, and I know that I definitely will be making more in the future because it was such an enjoyable pattern to sew up. I definitely will be coming back around and making more Silversaga patterns in the future because I think that she is such an amazing pattern designer and she has so many beautiful timeless pieces to choose from. And if you have made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you so very much. And again, you guys have been so kind to me and have been filling my spirit with such joy and happiness. I appreciate you for sticking around and watching the entire duration of my video. I would love for you to join my little family here on YouTube that I'm trying to grow, and give this video a like if you liked it, of course. I appreciate you spending your time with me today. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day or evening wherever you are in the world. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye bye.